Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the live show, to the discussion of what climate justice means. Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? How has been your Saturday? Um, how are you doing? I need to fix my hair. I just had dinner, so I'm again a little messy, but that's okay. Hello. How are you? Have you read the book, or are you here just hang out? Let me know what's up. Hello, Jess. I'm ready. I retracted the letters on my keyboard for this. Retraced. Okay. Yes, it's gonna be fun one. Hello, Alex. Hello, Jess. I have anger. That was fun to type. Nice. I will. I'm popular tonight. It will be. What do you mean? Why are you unpopular tonight? We'll see. Maybe not. That's usually me. It'll be nice to have a break. Yeah, right. Hello, Natalie. I haven't read the book, so I'll be a silent guest and listen to your opinions for a while. Welcome. You're very welcome. This is not a fiction book, so no spoilers. It's just gonna be, like even if we discuss it in detail, you still can go in and read it for yourself and have the same, experience as otherwise. So don't have to worry about that. So you're definitely welcome to hang out. Yes, I'm here now. Sorry, I was about 3 minutes late, but I'm here now. Yes, sorry about that. Oh, I read it. Yes, you did. I'm floating in my ocean of salt. Yes. I saw the Discord. What happened on the Discord? I did miss maybe the last bit because I was eating dinner, but yeah, Jess is salty. Okay, so to start properly, welcome. We are going to be discussing, thank you, camera, what climate justice means and why we should care by Elizabeth Cripps. This is a non-fiction book we had for September and October. And I put this book on the list this year because I read about climate justice before, but it was very short, like stretches, very short, bits about climate justice. Okay, I can't move for the camera to focus properly. And I felt like I wanted to learn more. Like there is one book that I read previously that mentioned climate justice a lot, and I did really find it very, very interesting. And I thought I want to learn more. And then we read the climate book in January, February, earlier this year. And there was one article about climate justice. And I felt like it was not done well enough. And it was very short, considering how big the how big a topic it is. And so I decided to put also this book onto the list to learn more about climate justice and to read more about it and to see, like, to dive deep into it. So that's why it was on the list, and I was really excited about it. And honestly, I never checked with you if you can hear me because I did not check. So I need to check that because I don't want to be. Can you hear me and see me? I think you can. Yes. Okay. Um, you two should have an opinion. Yes, just like the author of this nonfiction book of opinions. I know. Barbara is so professional right now. I'm trying a little bit, because I don't want to come in all hot and full of opinions because while I did feel all kinds of things while reading it, and it was very exhausting to read it, even though it was less than 200 pages, I think that with a different mindset and maybe in a different position, it could be a very interesting book. Um, but there would have to be probably very different setup, I believe. Um, yes, but I only see one turtle. They're both there. um, so yeah, I wanted to put this book on there, but what I found out reading the book, thank you, camera. What I found out reading this book is that um, there are different definition of climate justice. Because what I read before in another book, it was part of the book club, but it was before it was on YouTube. It was when I ran it on Instagram, and then yeah, we just discussed in messages on Instagram. So it was much, well, not smaller. This is also small, but you know, it was less formal, let's say. And so we read that book with my book club partner then, and that one was amazing. It's right there, right there. What Can I Do by Jane Fonda. And there it had climate justice. I don't remember the definition exactly, but that's the definition that, or like that's how I understood climate justice for a long time, and it matched the definition from the climate book that we read earlier this year. It is about, or what I understood climate justice was, is basically governments making decisions and building infrastructure in places where they don't listen to the people, and it will bring harm to those people. Most common in what can I do is said like very much focused on the US. So in the US, you would have, you know, planting or like building a pipeline in indigenous areas, or um, extracting oil, fracking near, you know, again, indigenous areas where they are very nature based, or running electricity plant near a poor area. So low income people would live in this area, in this neighborhood, and there would be some kind of, I think, power plant, but I don't remember exactly which one it was, but it would, the people, the population in this village, and especially the children, because the school was right next to it, would have, what is the word? Disproportionately higher rates of cancer compared to general US population. So things like this, where, you know, the government kind of takes advantage or doesn't really care about certain neighborhoods. I feel that was the similar definition to the climate book. However, here, the climate justice felt almost synonymous to climate change, and everything was climate injustice. Everything. So just the fact that I now have the laptop plugged into the plug and taking electricity from I don't even know where, could be fossil fuels. That is climate injustice, for example. You know, having a phone that I plug into electricity every day, climate injustice. Um, everything, every single thing would be climate injustice. Taking, you know, car to office instead of bus, or instead of biking. Biking for me would be 1 hour. Otherwise, I would have done it. If it was 10 minutes, 20-minute bike, I would do it. It would take me 1 hour. So it's not reasonable for me. But again, climate injustice. That is not what I expected from this book. Anyway, that is the initial idea of why I picked this book and what I expected of this book. I expected this book to dive into exactly these situations when the governments would build infrastructure and you know, energy facilities in places where they would pollute low income neighborhoods, poor people, people of color, whatever whatever you have. So that's what I went into the book with, and the book was not like that whatsoever. So that's why I had a bone to pick with this book. But I also do realize that I don't think it's that much fair from me to judge the book by what I expected. You know, so I really want to bring that forward, that I did expect something else from it, and that is a big part of why I did not like it. Which, you know, I think it's on me, but it's also on the book a bit. A bit. And so, yeah, that's where I'm coming from. But at the same time, I still think there are lots of things that did not make sense and that were just very opinionated rather than factual. And I have opinions on it. So we can dive in. I'm not going to put any warnings for spoilers because it's non-fiction book. So no need for spoilers. But let me see what you guys are saying. Like if it was my first ever book on anything about climate. Yeah, I think, like, actually, I think if this was your first ever book on climate, it could be very interesting. That's what I felt most of the time. Like, if this is the first book I read about climate, first of all, I would be a bit bored. But second of all, I would not be as annoyed because I wouldn't understand the scope of the climate change and the environment as much as I do now. So then maybe I'll be able to better appreciate all the information that was there, because lots of the information that was there was like we already heard about it, and so it was kind of like this doesn't give me anything. And then what we didn't hear or didn't read before, for me felt like it just doesn't add up and it's just an opinion. So yeah. And also in the end, somewhere in, I think in the last second to last chapter, in the last chapter before the conclusion, somewhere she wrote like, yeah, I could give you these numbers, but like I'm not gonna do that because you can find it anywhere else. And I'm like, okay, maybe then you can give me the source where I can find it, if you're just saying you can find it in other places. And another thing I missed here is there was never any reference to any bibliography whatsoever. And we've got, is it bibliography? It is bibliography. It is, okay, further reading, sure, is 2 pages. And then bibliography is, what is that? 22 pages is bibliography. But it's never cross-referenced in the text. And that was really strange to me. I didn't realize until the very end, but it was really strange. Like, where do you get all the information? It should have been cross-referenced, you know, like as you do in nonfiction. You put 1, 2, 3. Doesn't mean I'll go every single thing and check where it's coming from, but it should be here. So those are the things that I was very much missing. I did review it, to be honest, and I can see you and hear you. Okay, good. Where did you review it? Is it on your blog only, or I did not see your review. Oh, hey, this one focused on the US a lot too. How much the author hates it. Yeah, it was. And she, I don't know if she's American, but she lives in Edinburgh, and she was focusing a lot on the US. Now, to be fair, the US is kind of a center of the attention of the world all the time. So it does kind of make sense, but it was very much focused on the US considering it's by British author. So that I agree, that's strange. My entire existence is an injustice to Cripps. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Yes. Because we are white, because we are in developed countries, and because we live comfortable lives. So very unjust. Yes. Okay, I'll say I like the bright yellow cover, and I like that it was under 200 pages. That's it. Yeah. You know, there were some good bits. I did mark a couple good bits that I was like, okay, now we're talking. Now it seems like this is a good point, or this is interesting. And like I have a couple of those as well, but it's very scarce. Guys, don't read my review or you would unfriend. Why? Where can I see your review, Alex? I don't know where your review is. I would read it. I I wouldn't unfriend you for your opinion on this book, honestly. If you love it, if you hate it, that's completely fine. Like why would anyone unfriend you? Did you love it? Maybe you will unfriend us if we trash the book and you loved it. You know, like it's I find it so silly if people fight over books. I remember that sentence. Even just tell me what to Google. Yeah, so strange. What I really want to see is how many of the million philosophers she referenced are white men from the global. I didn't think about it, but that is so right. That is so right. Honestly, yes. You are right. I didn't think about it. Yes, and it wasn't in text because hardly anything was quoted directly. It was all condescendingly paraphrased. Yes. Oh my gosh. And the only thing that actually was like picked out from somewhere was the Paris Agreement. Yeah, here. So we've got the Paris Agreement. But then I like there is one paragraph that they talk about like, oh, even this part is very much instead of hard or legally binding obligation, it is a soft one or a mention. And then it goes on to say, yeah, most obligations around adaptation, addressing loss and damage, financial supports, technology, and capacity building are soft. Take Article 8, Paragraph 1. And then it says the paragraph. And it says, parties recognize the importance of averting, minimizing, and addressing loss and damage associated with the adverse effects of climate change, including extreme weather events and slow onset events, and the role of sustainable development in reducing the risk of loss and damage. Encouraging words, but without the mandatory requirements to turn it into anything like justice. You give us one paragraph. What is to say that is not addressed later? This is just, kind of like the parties do recognize it, but I would never consider this any kind of obligation. What is there to be what is the obligation in here? Or the suggestion? There is nothing like it whatsoever. So it was just like, what's going on? It's so weird. No way, Alex. We support opinions even if we disagree. At least I definitely. Exactly. Yes, definitely. The Paris Agreement. I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice if she included where online you could easily access the entire document to fill in for yourself? Yes, I was thinking the same thing. Again, taking out one paragraph and judging the entire Paris Agreement on it. Like that's not going to cut it for me. But yeah, it's just, oh, and before the stream, oh my god, I was so burned out from reading this book today. My brain hurt, honestly. But I did want to research because she is very much in favor of Biden, and how Biden is actually doing so well for the climate change and how progressive it is. Wasn't he the one who allowed the most recent oil platform near Alaska or something? I think he was the one, and it was like last year or something. So it was definitely Biden. Yes, he's very much progressive, isn't he? Caring for the Paris Agreement and the environment instead of just trusting whatever she censored for us to read. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Exactly. So yeah, maybe I didn't have time to go through the entire thing before the show because honestly, as I said, I was totally burned out. I could not think about it any longer. But I can go through it a little bit now. And there are some like really interesting parts as well, of course. But most of it was just like, yeah, just weird. This is what I keep saying. None of us voted for Biden. We really voted for not Trump. Yes, exactly. Yeah. The lesser of two evils is still evil. Yeah. Yeah, and that didn't seem to come through at all. It was just like, oh yeah, under the Trump administration, we show the world we don't care about like blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, sure, yeah, he did exit Paris Agreement, Even though I disagreed with it, I did see where he was coming from. So again, if you want to address that, I would say go for it. Like what did he say? What happened? This was a lot of things that missed in the book. That she would just list some opinions. She would just say this is happening and this is happening and this is happening. No reference to any resources or anything. Not explaining how come that happens, where it's coming from, and all. Yeah, it was just so strange. It was really annoying. It was really, as we mentioned on Discord, it really felt like opinion article that was way too long, rather than a nonfiction book with a proper research and proper writing. Honestly, if I'm going to be completely honest, I was reading this book, and towards in the second half, I started to think. I never thought this before, or not seriously, but today, the first time ever reading this, I was thinking maybe I could write a book on climate change. And, incorporate some of this. Sure, do the research. Okay, I'm white woman from global north. Do I need to write another book? No. But I feel like, okay, it would take me years, but I would, like incorporate all the facts, try to bring both points of view. And like, I don't know, I was just so passionate about it when I like was reading this, that I really wanted to show her how to write a book. Stupid idea. But this book was so bad that that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Nothing was explained properly. I had something in the last bit somewhere that where was it? Doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo. Doo-doo. I need to find it. I don't know where it is. I have a note. Seems like the longer we go, the more sensible we get. Like towards the end, there were some more interesting things and more true, I would say, and more nuanced opinions. In the beginning, it was very one-sided. Yeah, here I've got one that I want to address as well. That was with something with the percentages that you just were saying on Discord as well. You're just repeating yourself at this point. No. Yes, there was another. Oh my gosh. Finally, making some sense, aren't we? I don't know where I wrote it, guys, but yeah, here I had, is tsunami caused by climate change? And it's not. I found it's not. Well, it's not proven that it is. They think climate change can make it worse, but there is no proof that climate change causes tsunami, or not that I found. Never heard of it, and I was searching for it today, and I did not find anything conclusive. And I was getting sassy here and saying, yeah, now we face the reality. Many of those who should pay won't. So should everyone else respond? Philosophers call this non-ideal theory. And I have comment. Love how creative you philosophers are. Non-ideal theory. Yes, like here, for example, on page 140, in the chapter The Least Unjust Option, she's talking about what is it, green bullshitting kind of thing, and it was talking about in 2020 the Advertising Standards Authority banned as misleading an advertisement describing Ryanair as Europe's lowest fares, lowest emissions airline. The same year, the Dutch Advertising Code Committee ordered the Dutch airline KLM to change a campaign that overemphasized the firm's use of biofuels. And I'm just thinking, like, if you want us to recognize better um, the greenwashing and green bullshitting, as some of your philosopher friends called it, um, then give us more information about it. Like, I would like to know more about, like, why did Ryanair say it was Europe's lowest fares and lowest emissions airline, and then it was banned? Like, why? Tell me. Like, this is all that is mentioned here. Like, it's kind of like when people react to things, or people expect you to know things from just reading the title of the article and never reading the actual article. Like, that's what it feels like. And then later on, it continues that oil and gas firms run advertisements acknowledging climate change, touting the benefits of technology, or citing net zero aims, but they keep on extracting fossil fuels. And it seems as a problem. And I'm thinking that if they are aiming to net zero, that doesn't mean that they are not going to, you know, emit any more emissions. It just means they are reaching to net zero. So why would this in essential be a problem? This on its own is a no problem. Like, in a real normal picture, big picture, yes, of course it's a problem. But as it's written here, it's not a problem, because net zero doesn't mean no emissions whatsoever. It just means you balance it out. So it's just, it was really strange. It was very opinionated. Not that many things to actually, like, support her opinions with were listed. She was not necessarily wrong with many things. I don't know. It just was not explained properly. That makes it even more interesting that she mentioned that Trump withdrew, and it took her a ton of pages to get to the fact that one of the first things Biden did after his inauguration was to opt back in. Yes, definitely. It's really strange. It's like punishing someone 2 days after they did something bad. They won't make the connection. Yes. Yeah, exactly. I feel like Cripps said she was using her privilege to center other people's stories, but paraphrasing and briefly mentioning isn't the way to do it. No, exactly. Like, there were no stories told. There were no stories. Just names. I think that's why the climate book was so interesting to me. Things were written by the actual people who experienced things, not summarized by some white lady. Yes. Exactly. Um, and by scientists, not some philosophers who are just thinking about things. Like, that's just strange to me. The tone too, oh my goodness, so condescending and manipulative. Yes. And also, most of the book, it felt like she doesn't understand how real world works. Like, she acts, she operates in her own philosopher world. Only on the edge she mentions that that's actually not how world works. And that was so obvious so many times. I was just thinking, like, okay, what you're thinking, it's not wrong, but there is a reason it doesn't work. There is a reason why it's not happening in real life. And that was never explored, so it was missing so much information and so much nuance. This book, it just was really frustrating. And some of the facts seemed hard to collect. Like, how do you know how many people developed asthma solely as a result of climate change? It's also genetics, health, etc. Yes, exactly. So this is one of the things that was very well explained in What Can I Do? There were actual numbers and facts, and I think, like, reports named and everything. And yeah, you still can ask this question, definitely. But if you're going to claim that, you also need to support your claim with something if you're writing a book like this. Otherwise, it just loses the gravitas. Is that the phrase? I don't know. Also, as someone from the horrible, awful US, I don't know if I've seen many ads for oil companies, etc. at all. Probably not. No, not on its own. Um, no, I don't think so. I think there could be some like discussion around it, that what commercials for like what, for example, cars or banks um, are have in common with the oil companies, but that's not oil company commercial. But it's a whole plot. I think it was kind of explained in the um, climate book, but yeah, it's definitely not explained in this book. Yes, I felt like the facts evidence could have been taken out of context and we'd never know. Exactly. A lot were like some philosophers think, or most people agree. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Exactly. That's exactly how I felt. The one thing she mentioned was a poll of 2,000 people in the UK, which is less than 1% of the UK's entire population. I looked it up. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I was imagining you trying to bike to work through the snow in Sweden because this person from a pretty temperature climate told you to. Yes, I know. I know. Like, people do bike here in snow. I'm not gonna lie. People do it, but it's not safe and it's not, really feasible all that much. But yeah, what you said about the 2,000 people in UK, I did, yeah, hear but what can I do? And then when she was talking about how she doesn't fly, she hasn't flown since 2018 or something. And she's like, me quietly quitting flying probably won't get noticed. But by May 2021, more than 4,000 people had signed up to Flight Free UK 2021. That might. And I was like, 4,000 people. If you have 100 people in one plane, that's small plane. 100 people in one plane. That is 40 planes. That's like 1 hour in Heathrow in one day. That is absolutely nothing. Nothing. And I did the math. I'm like, 4,000 people. So UK has 67 million people. So out of that, these 4,000 people are 0.006%. And I did also search how many people fly in UK in one year. I think this was year 2022, so 1 year later. But 2022, it was higher than the year before in 2021, and it was 224 million people flew. So you want to tell me that 4,000 people pledging not to fly is gonna make any difference whatsoever compared to those 224 million people that fly in UK every year? Beyond words. Means nothing. Like, I don't fly. Well, because I'm scared, but also if I can take a train, I will take a train. And I have a friend who lives in France. He doesn't fly to France anymore. He takes trains. It will take him one whole day, 4 transfers, but he takes train to go back to France. That's some dedication, and not because he's scared of flying. Like, he'll fly if he has to, but if he doesn't have to, he'll take the train. But that's still not gonna change anything, Like, it's just so insane. But like, I get it where she's coming from, but just the number, she's just like, oh, 4,000 people play. I'm like, 4,000 people is nothing. It's insane. Um. So yeah, I was. So I saw she also has a book on parenting, which makes sense because I thought a lot of her manipulation was done through mentioning motherhood, our children, future generations, that sort of thing. Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense, actually. I shouldn't tell her that my sister has 8 kids, should I? Insane. Sandling, okay. Can we read it? Would it be okay if we read it here? Or Should I just read it? Should we just read it later on? But thank you for sending it. Visit site. Okay. Is it long? It's not very long. We could read it. If you don't mind, only if you don't mind. 67.33 million people in the UK in 2021. Yes, exactly. That's the number I found as well. I mean, great for those 4,000 people, but that's a small impact. Exactly. I love that we were fact checking the same stuff. Yes. Also, mass transit like buses and trains aren't available everywhere, and it's always people living in cities that tell you to get rid of your car and take the bus. Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. And even all buses, like buses are better than cars, but it's still not ideal. But yeah, like it's just it's so much more complicated than that. Did she say why she has written this book as a philosopher? She wanted, maybe she did write it in acknowledgements. No, probably not. I did not mark anything if she actually mentioned that. Here maybe. Yes. Okay, so here it is. This is actually something I did want to look into. Uh, wait, she's a moral philosopher, and it's because she's better than us. Okay, let me read this part to you. It's November 2021, and she is sitting in her Edinburgh house or home, and she is looking at her computer where she was looking at the website called Climate Central, which I thought we could look at the end of here and the end of this, and I could share the screen and we could look at the Climate Central. It shows map of what places will look like at 2050 or 2100 or something like that. And push the dial to 2050, and Edinburgh's coast is rimmed red. Great splotches over much of, I don't know how to pronounce these words, but parts of Edinburgh, I guess. So many homes, so many plans and hopes lost to our changing climate. I zoom out, Edinburgh gets smaller, the red marks almost too tiny to see. And then she sees all kinds of changes to the beaches and everything and places. And then Bangladesh cannot pay for the adaptation to these changes, as well as Kiribati. Kiribati has not profited either, and it is almost all right on my map. I'd like to look away from reality, from this bleak glimpse of the next few decades. But it's not an option now for any of us. So I do the opposite. I send this book out into the world full of hard truths and arguments which, however unpalatable, are grounded in basic morality. A book not simply about climate change, but about climate justice, what it looks like, how radically different from the world we are in now, and why it should matter to each of us. I hope it will make you not only think, but act. I hope you will use and adapt these arguments to persuade others to act. And if you take away only a few key highlights from these pages, please take these. And then she lists them. That's why she wrote the book. And yeah, it was not a great book. And she talks a lot. Oh, yeah, here I have per year, like not enough information. Also, I did not like. It was the simplest thing, I thought, but she just couldn't bring herself to do it. It was in the beginning where she shared the table of the. Where is it? Here, in the chapter 2, page 51, where she talks. This here. Greenhouse gas emissions in 2018, and then it's total greenhouse gases emissions, and it gives top 10 countries as per total. So we have China, United States, India, Russia, Indonesia, Brazil, Japan, Iran, Germany, Canada. And then next to it says per capita, and then of course varies, because the China and India are very, very populated places, countries. So it's not accurate when you calculate it per capita. And I just thought it would be such a simple touch to make another table like that underneath, to list the top 10 that have highest emissions per capita, and how it changes and how it compares to this, that it would be 10 countries from global north, for example. I thought that would be such a simple touch and just a simple thing to check. And she couldn't do it. She just listed it later here, and it's just not that clear. So that was just a little thingy. Two types of vegans: normal humans who made a choice for themselves and just exist in the world, and ones who explain to you why you're awful and everyone should be vegan. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, again, on the next thing, and this is a fun thing actually, about this vegan thing, and how it felt like she was so mighty because she's vegan. um I read a book called How to Create a Vegan World. It is written by a vegan called Tobias, what's your name? Lennart. Tobias Lennart. He's Belgian, I think. And I read this book and it was brilliant, because it does not focus on making everyone vegan. It actually explains in detail how big a difference, or like how much bigger impact it would make if people just limit their intake of meat. And if people everywhere would start emitting their meat consumption, would make much, like incomparably bigger impact on the world than, let's say, 10% additional vegans. And that was in a book called How to Create a Vegan World. So that is a book that's worth reading. It opened my eyes to so many things. Like, until I read that book, I did think that there is no such thing as I'm 5% vegan, like I'm 95% vegan. I thought, like, well, then you're not vegan. I do not think that anymore. I do think now you can be 95% vegan, and it makes sense. And I'm not judgy anymore about that. It's a great book. I do recommend. It's short, simple, easy to read. Loved it. And so, exactly as you say, like, it's just, again, nuance missing in the book, in this one. Crazy. And I feel very fortunate to only know the first step of lovely vegans. Right. Yes. Me too. And I hope I'm one of those, though. Oh, yeah. Also, she only mentioned China once or twice. Yes, she did. She was very scared of those countries, or to talking about them. And it's just, yeah, and global north. And I'm thinking China is global north, but that's okay. Yes, yes, exactly. Her facts had zero context and felt very handpicked. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Um, and yeah, it's just wait here. Yeah, I think it's very also here also saying we might do better, says ecofeminist theorist Giovanna Di Chiro, to call it the white man Thropocene. And it just is wrong with me, because yes, let's blame all white men for everything that's happening. It really felt like um at some points, or like basically at any point, it really felt like she thought that white men in the global north are causing climate change on purpose, and they are creating climate change on purpose instead of as a byproduct. I don't think, like, I do agree that most of the issues are stemming from the way we live right now in global north, and there are ways to make it better. Like, I'm not denying that, absolutely not. However, it didn't sit right with me that the tone was that, or I felt the tone to be that they are making it on purpose, and they are uh, digging oil because they want to oppress people of color in global south. I'm like, but that no, like, no. What the actual hell? No, like, that just felt so wrong to me. Didn't sit well with me at all. Yeah, and then also here I have uh, how it is not coincidental that it is the white people who are comfortable and safe, and it's the non-white people who are suffering, the non-white people and poor people who are suffering. And I'm thinking, no, it's not coincidental, because that's how world works, unfortunately. I'm not saying about the people of color and white, that's a little bit different, that's a history and geography lesson. The poor people, that's how it works. Poor people, unfortunately, don't have the money to move to a richer neighborhoods. That's just unfortunately how world works. Like, it's not that rich people are, doing all this stuff to oppress poor people in Africa. Like, that's not how it works. And it just annoyed me so much. Yeah, I'd rather hear that. How to ease yourself into more vegan alternatives, or what to substitute for what. Yes. Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, her take on white men is weird. They have power and want to hold said power and don't care about the consequences. Why would they want to change when the system currently benefits them? Yes. Yeah. And it just was like so strange. And then sometimes they wear some things that I thought didn't make any sense with the rest of the thing. Yeah, like, what does this have to do with anything? And also, but also has nothing to do with climate. Could have used this space to dive deeper into the previous things. So it was really a lot. Um, yeah, and then when she was complaining, that also that was rubbed me a little bit wrong. And again, she's not wrong, but it's not how the world works. Um, that the politicians uh, don't make decisions that are good for global south. Explain to me how a person in Europe or in the US who has 3 jobs just to pay rent, just to have roof over their head, how they would be happy with a politician making a decision to spend money to save Africa, or to save whatever, global south, South America, Oceania, whatever you have, Malaysia, Philippines, Southeast Asia. How people who, like, yeah, person who has 3 jobs, can't sleep, barely able to afford food and roof over their head, how they would be happy with the politicians spending money on those things rather than trying to solve the issue of poor people at home. I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm not saying that's what politicians do right now. But I think it is what politicians should do. They should focus on people in their own country in the first place. That's how I feel like. Like, of course, bigger picture too. But I think it makes perfect sense when politicians and governments make decisions that prosper their own country first. And if they have any leftover money, they can focus on things that will prosper to some other countries too. Like, It's also not that straightforward, of course, but just as a general, it felt like she had a big problem with it, that they think on a national level rather than international level. And I'm like, but doesn't sit well when we think about the poorer countries, even in Europe. Maybe poorer countries in Europe are not as influenced by climate change as countries in global south, but they still have very, very different life than France, Germany, UK, USA. Very different life. Something that she would never understand, would she? So it's just didn't sit right with me, especially coming from one of those poorer countries. Slovakia is not very rich or very Western country, so it's different world, honestly. Not in a bad way, it's just different. Everything she wrote about Hurricane Katrina made me very uncomfortable. It felt so censored and nowhere near the full story. Yes, exactly. Exactly. If most of the victims were black, because that's the largest population in these unhealthy areas, the problem is why predominantly black people have to feel they have to end up living in these areas. Exactly. Yes. And this was not addressed. It was maybe one sentence. And this is the exact thing, honestly, this is the exact thing that I thought I was going to be reading in this book about. I thought that's what this book would be focused on. These things. Why are the poor people, people of color, indigenous people, what you have, or people who just random people who do end up in these situations, why do they end up in those situations? Why is there no escape for them? And what we can do, like that's the climate justice that I thought was going to be discussed. But this exact thing that you say was like one sentence in the book, honestly. So that upset me a lot. Also, all of New Orleans is below sea level. So um I never been there, so I don't know, but that sounds insane. The problem is systemic oppression and a history of racism. That's exactly the type of injustice I expected to read about as well. Where was that? Yes, exactly. Exactly. I was not there at all. And then she goes on to talk about how unjust it is to also non humans. For example, like a tiger and a gazelle. And I'm like, excuse me, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? How? And then there are apparently some people who are trying to stop that. Did she say something like that? Or was it, I don't know, it just felt so strange, like, oh, how some people are, um yeah, the tiger kills the gazelle, it's such a horrible thing for the gazelle, so unjust. Climate injustice. Girl, no. No, I'm not gonna be nice. No. Oh my god, non-humans, that pissed me off so much. Yes, it was awful. It was awful. um yeah, this, okay, we talked about. This one's a bit simplified, of course. Yes, Indian Ocean. Yes, this 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami surveyed villagers in Indonesia. In 4 villages, close to 3 times as many survivors were male as female. In the 4 villages in the North Aceh district, 284 of the 366 who died were women or girls. In one village, 4 females died for every male. Like, 3 different numbers, but in the different forms. How are we supposed to compare them? Like, I can do the math, but I'm sure there are people who would struggle with the math. Why can't you give us the same? Like, this percent of the victims were women. This percent of the victims were women. This percent of the victims were women. How hard would that be, honestly? So that sounds insane. One, first of all. Second of all, what does that have to do with climate justice? That has to do with probably women not being priorities to save, maybe. Also, the tsunami was not caused by the climate change. So I don't know what that had to do with anything, but okay, yeah. Right. Like, how can we protect tigers while also protecting gazelles? Leave the tigers alone. That's how. Yeah, exactly. Leave the nature be. Don't. It's not unjust. It's just dumb. Also, there was a part about how many species went extinct since I think 1900 as a result of climate change. Is that something that can really be proven? I don't know. I'm not convinced. What did you say? I don't know if it can be proven. I don't think it can be proven because they never know. You never know, you know. But I do have a book that I think I already mentioned this book, the Sixth Extinction, and that one is focused on this in particular that we could read next year. So could do that if you would like, and then we would learn more about it because honestly, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, what does this number mean? I'm sorry. What? Care to expand on this? Oh yeah, this. I did not understand this whatsoever. I don't know how I mean, it is horrible what she says, but that did not add up to me whatsoever, and it's not explained or addressed whatsoever either. Like, yes, from again, women being victims, from women in the global south searching further afield for fuel, food, and water, to those facing escalating levels of rape and violence as oil and gas is extracted from indigenous land. Climate change harms women in particular ways. How is the oil and gas extracted from indigenous land increases the levels of rape and violence? Is not explained. I can imagine maybe, but that should definitely be explained in a book like this. What is happening to these women? That this is all that's said about them. That's all. And I'm supposed to take it for a fact, like, yeah, that's what happens. And again, if I use it in a argument to convince someone else that she intended this book to be used, then they're gonna ask like, oh, how does that, like, what do you mean? How does it result in violence? And I'll be like, I'm going to Google that. Thank you very much. Like, hello. Like, are some animals more likely to be capable of evolving, adapting faster? I don't know. I'm interested in the nuance of it. I guess it's awful no matter what, but I want more information. Yeah, definitely. I do think animals are quite slow to adapt. Um, I would imagine animals are quite slow to adapt, so that could be an issue. But I don't know. I don't know. Didn't read that much about that. So yeah, I remember that part, and saying rape violence is a thing that's expected to happen kind of feels like excusing it. Yeah. Yeah. Like, what happens? Tell me what happens. It's almost as if what happens on the other side of the world doesn't influence the global north. Yes. I don't know what that was in related to, but wait here. Point two, if it's no coincidence that women are harder hit by climate change than men, it is also no coincidence that the women we are talking about, indigenous women, climate refugees, women fighting floods in the global south, Ethiopian forest guards, are not usually white. Definitely not a coincidence. Yeah, it's just a lot of things like this, lots of speculations. And look, she might not be wrong. That's the thing. She might not be wrong. But she's just gonna say something like that and leave it be. Continue as if nothing happened. It's just insane. It's just insane. Anyway, should we? A little snarky, aren't we? Oh yeah, this one. This is just the tip of the iceberg, or would be if you weren't melting them. I was like, girl, check your tone. What is that? Again, not wrong, but it's wrong with me. So it's like, it's lots of things like this. I'm sure there are much more things I wanted to point out and say, but I feel like I'm just being mean at this point. Like, we have to prevent women from being in these situations because we can't stop rape. No, yeah, exactly. She only mentioned the things that supported her opinions. Yes, yes. So, should I continue with all the notes I had, or is that not interesting? Yeah. Then there was one thing that it felt like, you really want this? It was as if she wanted one government to decide for all governments. That was, I think, towards the Great New Deal, European Union kind of thing here that she was talking about. And I thought that that's absolutely not okay, to think that there should be one country deciding for everybody else what they are supposed to do in their countries. Like, there could be some guidelines and recommendations and some requirements that if you don't fulfill some of them, then you won't get dotations from European Union or whatever. Like, sure, but not in a way that somebody is going to decide for all of the countries. That just feels absolutely wrong, and we don't need to go there. That's not a good solution, in my opinion. Also, constantly portraying women, people of color, as victims takes away from all the good activists have done. I don't know if that makes sense. Yes, absolutely. And that also was one of my notes. Like, she really makes her point at portraying any victims as people of color. Where was it? I can find it because I did mark it and I did make a note, because I was like, but surely that's not good to say this way. I can try to find it, but was it this? No, this was the Green Deal, yeah, which was also pretty privileged point of view, in my opinion. Um, someone did a bad job in math, or something was ignored. Um, uh, no, this was no, they researched the new all rig. Yeah, Biden built. Um, Focus more on the women who are making a difference and working hard, which she did a little, instead of constantly beating us down with victimhood, which she also did, but way more. Yes. Yeah, I absolutely understand. And um I don't know, just the entire tone of the book just felt so wrong. Like, the person who got cropped out of the photo, tell me more about what she's done. Yes. Center her narrative. Don't just mention her in passing as a black woman who was a victim. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Just mentions her by name but doesn't say what she did, or where you can check her out, check her content or what she's doing, or support her or whatever. Nothing. Actually, maybe I should just look her up and all the other interesting people Cripps mentioned briefly. Yes, definitely a good idea, I think, because she did not do them justice. Um, mm, which is impossible to attempt. Oh yeah, that thing, completely turning off fossil fuels, doesn't work. We know that now. After that actually we learned in the Bill Gates book. That was interesting. Um, oh yes, here. So let's see. Effective participation means recognizing the overlapping lines drawn by race, gender, nationality, wealth, class, religion, and sexual orientation. White women cannot truly represent all women, nor men of color, all people of color. A supermodel, black or white, may do a good deal to raise awareness, may, in a significant way, act as an ally, but she cannot understand the plight of women of color clinging to the wreck of their homes, nor can an Asian American woman who earns millions in a Wall Street bank. Climate jazz is intergenerational. Um, yeah, it just feels like the entire time, like, maybe not this thing in particular, there will be no justice unless decision making, local, state, and global, includes the communities most vulnerable to those decisions. That includes people of color, it includes indigenous communities, it includes the global south, it includes displaced communities. What about low income communities? But yeah, it just felt like constantly She was putting women and people of color as victims and as people who are unable to help themselves. And it was very important to mention it instead of saying that people who suffer from climate change or people in global south or something. No, constantly people of color, people of color, women of color, all the time. And it just also rubbed me the wrong way that, like, do we need to mention it the entire time? Like, there are rich people of color, there are people of color who don't suffer from climate change at all, or, well, not at all, but, like, are in global north and are doing very well for themselves. I'm sure there are people of color who are part of the problem, but no, this book would make you believe that it's all white men that is the problem. Yeah. Anyway, I put a line through all the condescending parts, especially the stuff like, as we saw in chapter 1. Oh, yeah. Uh, this is not possible, as was explained in chapter 3 and 4. As was explained in as we saw in chapter 1, as we understood from chapter 2. I'm like, but did we? I think the easiest way to get more people to fight for justice would be to just show how other people have done it and how we all can too. Okay, that makes me think, yes, it is time to put the what can I do on the list. I'm going to make you guys vote for what books you want for next year. There are a couple of you interested in it on the Discord channel, so check that out. I will be working on it in the following weeks because I do want to film an announcement, like have the list ready and film the announcement for the book club in December for next year. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, that definitely feels like that was explained in What Can I Do? Good for you. It is very, very, very much USA focused. So I would reread it. I read it. It was great. I would reread it now. So that is explained there a lot as well. So can put that one as an option for next year. I hate that these books have tiny chapters at the end about what we can do. You hate? Yeah. Um, And especially this one, I loved how it always said, as an individual, you can join a community. As an individual, you can become a politician. As an individual, you can do anything at all because it all comes to bigger to the government. As an individual, you can, like, basically what you said, as an individual, you can't do absolutely anything because you just, it's all on the government. So it was completely useless. And Cripps said right at the beginning how she's a white woman in a rich country with privilege, and yet the whole book comes off very privileged, saying the words in "Isn't enough, lady." Yes, it sounded very privileged the entire book, and I'm not the one who says privilege often. I I don't have issues with the word, but I think it's used too widely these days, and I don't like to use it that often because it loses meaning for me, and this book will deserve this word for sure. So yes, just casually run for office. Yeah, exactly. It's so weird. The suggestions are not for introverts. The suggestions. Yes, no, not at all. No. Okay, so should we have two things to do now. I know it's getting late. We talked a lot, but we did go through everything. Should we rate it in the compile, or should we check the climate? What was it called? The Climate Central website and check some places. That would be fun, I thought. I don't know which one we want to do. On them, it is late. Yes. Thanks. It was interesting to hear your thoughts on the books and the topic. You're welcome. It was pretty brutal. Oh yeah, I wanted to also check Alex's blog. He didn't mention if we could read it, but let's see. Want to share his thought, from the beginning pages, it caught my ear since I'm listening to it. The author said it best we have the complete picture, but we choose to see the snapshot from it, the bit that matters to us. Did you know that Earth, yes, the one we live on, is 2 degrees hotter than in previous years? And believe me, this doesn't only affect the environment and animals, but us too, because at the end of the day, we are part animal too. Climate change isn't only an environment, but also a gender, race, and society classes. Um, while I don't feel like I'm the right person to talk about the issue, being male and white, I'm biased toward everyday comforts. However, I do think that we need to have a change in mindset. It might be true that the damage we started by generations before us, but that doesn't mean we aren't to blame too. Did you know most of the casualties in Hurricane Katrina were Black Americans? The excuse that there is a larger Black population didn't stand in studies. Non-white people, for lack of a better word, right now have fewer opportunities, such as education. Therefore, employers can afford to give lower wages. Thus, when a disaster strikes, they have and get fewer resources. We are facing the same problem in terms of gender globally. As heartbreaking as it is, studies show that natural disasters are becoming more man-made cause. So if that doesn't give you a fire to act, I don't know what will. If in any way you care about this topic, this book is for you because it explains it well, making it easy to understand. Fair enough. Yes. Um, yeah, I mean, as I said, I did like there wasn't necessarily anything wrong with the book. It just was not supported by any resources or evidence or referred to any websites or anything at all. So it just didn't feel good. And yeah, again, I think, as Alex said in his review, that um, a lot of new things he learned in this book. For me, nothing really was new in this book. So maybe that takes down the book a bit. Sorry, I'm excessively salty. Nope. Me too. Me too. I couldn't deal with this book. But yeah, so should we do Copal or skip that? Do the Climate Central or skip that? What do you think? Are we up for it or should we just call it a day? Um, because I did check it on my phone, but it was very much. Uh, it did not work on my phone very well. Picturing our future. Yeah, we can search for a place. So let's say where I am, Stockholm. The Royal Palace, yes. I mean, wait. Can I? Okay, present day sea level. There you go. And if we do 2, it doesn't seem accurate. 4. Okay. I missed something here. I'm thinking about Katrina again. Maybe more white people were able to evacuate, like they had moved to Nolan from somewhere else, but maybe more black people had families, friends in the same zone. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like it will be very interesting to investigate that and to see what the reason was, because like why. One reason would be that there were more black people there, so it would make sense that more black people were victims. So like make it a percentage, or it would be because um, yeah, white people had more resources to move, or I have no idea why people had. I have no idea. So it will be very interesting to actually look into for sure. Evacuation zone. I mean, yes, that was nerve wracking. Sorry, No, it was fine. It was fine. And why would we unfriend you for that? Like, you didn't say anything controversial there. I don't know if that came out right. Tell me if I'm making no sense. No, no, you're making sense. Evacuations are almost always issued way in advance. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna show you. You guys are not saying if you want to see it, but I'm gonna show you. Okay, just because I want to. There we go. Can we make it like this? Maybe. Yeah. So this is Stockholm. This is the very center, and we have present day looks like this. This is the royal castle, right? And if we would have 1.5 degree warming, it will be this much water. 4 would be this much, which honestly, this this difference is insane. This is present day, and this is 1.1 degrees, and this is difference for sure. Like the tide in the city is almost non-existent here. So this is absolutely insane. This is like 3 meters rise, which I don't think is correct. And then you have here, that doesn't sound right, but what do I know? Anyway, 2 degrees here. So yeah, you see today. And this is this old town. So this is very much on a hill. I don't know if there are, or Old North Church, Tokyo Tower, Japan. Okay, Massachusetts, New Zealand. If we look, Manhattan, I want to see. Mexico, San Francisco, Washington, D.C. Let's see Washington, D.C. Okay, 1.5 degrees, same as today. 3 degrees, all underwater. All right, that's pretty terrifying. But you know, I don't know. It just seems a little bit too unbelievable. But that's what I'm saying from comfort of today's not flooded cities, I guess. Rio de Janeiro, Copenhagen. Show me. Present day and 3 degrees. Also, I don't know where this castle is though. In Copenhagen. But yeah. Am I saying I wanted this book to be longer? Maybe if it was by another author. Yeah, if it was by another author and if it was longer by like actual facts and the descriptions of the situations, then yes. That stuff is terrifying, yeah. I saw a show on the Weather Channel years ago about what would happen if Katrina hurricane hit New York City, and while all of northern New Jersey was underwater, turned that off real fast. Yeah. Yeah, it is terrifying. Interesting animation. What's the site called again? Nightmares. Yep. It is called Climate Central. Can you see it in the website? Climate Central here on the top. Climate Central. You just search for Climate Central and you will find it. But it says, I think it has only 30 locations. But yeah, and then you have map. So if we look at, let's say, Stockholm, where I am. So what we were looking at there, well, let's see like that, yeah. What we were looking at the Stockholm place where the royal castle is here. but then the center is actually here. And now, how can I see? Region? No, I want to see the flooded or not flooded. Oh, I don't know. Doesn't show anything. Interesting. Why doesn't it work? Pigs out from covered eyes. Does it have New York? That's what I was looking for, but list. It does. Statue of Liberty, Lincoln Park, Riverbank Park, Washington Street. That's it. So if we check Statue of Liberty, present day, looks like that. Let's see. 1.1 flooded, 1.5, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, and 4 degrees. All flooded. Lincoln Park, New Jersey. Do you want to see that? Newark. I've been to Newark. Let's see. All flooded at 3 degrees. At 1.1, the streets, all the streets are flooded. And you can share it and get animated GIF and everything. And view on map. Hoboken. Oh my god, I know a lot of people who live there. Yeah. Newark. That's fucking close to me. Holy yes. Yeah. Okay. Terrifying map. You want me to show you? I'll show you. This one. Okay. Here is Newark, and we've got 1.5 degrees of global warming. Below tide line after, and the red one is 3 degrees of global warming. And we can change it. So this would be 1 degree. What will be underwater? And the red one is 3. So if we check only 1, the blue things would be underwater in Newark. And then if we go to New York, not much of New York would be flooded at 1 degree. Let's say, yeah, 1.5. Yeah, more bigger parts actually. We've got here East Village. Most of it would be flooded. Yeah, where my cousin lives, he would live like right by the sea at that point. Lower Manhattan, this would be all kind of flooded. And these parks here, all of it. That's terrifying. Most of the city though would be okay. This side is worse. So yeah. Here I want to go to Stockholm. And go to see the cherry blossoms in Branch Brook Park. I saw it on the map. Yeah. It is terrifying. We don't have Europe. We only have the US. There we go. Okay, here is the center. So the edges. Ooh. This entire thing. Oh no. The sheep museum would flood. Oh no. But the animals would be safe. This is the zoo kind of thing, Skansen. They would be okay. But the amusement park would be underwater. This only very little because there is a huge mountain. Like this entire island is elevated like 10 meters. But then this, yeah, Stockholm would be fine more or less. Mostly it would be this island here that would suffer in the city. Oh, terrifying, terrifying. So yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to go into the cop-out now. Then I don't think we have time for that. Or I mean, we do. We can stay as long as we want. But I do want to talk about or mention the book we have for this month, November and December, for the following 2 months. And so that's the last book of the year for the book club. And I'm terrified of this because it's supposed to be amazing. And it is a very big book. But it is The Overstory by Richard Powers. And I have this really pretty edition with a pretty cover. It is winner of the Pulitzer Prize. I believe he won it for this book specifically. So it is very famous and like very praised book. Let me just check something because yeah. That's a big one. Yes, it is. That's the one Cleo said she liked, right? Yes, she loved it. She loved this one. So what it says is Pulitzer Prize and National Book Award winner Richard Powers says 12th novel. 12. So I don't think he won it for this book, maybe. Is a sweeping, impassioned work of activism and resistance that is also a stunning evocation of NPN to the natural world. From the roots to the crown and back to the seeds, the overstory unfolds in concentric rings of interlocking fables that range from antebellum New York to the late 20th century timber wars of the Pacific Northwest and beyond. There is a world alongside ours, vast, slow, interconnected, resourceful, magnificently inventive, and almost invisible to us. This is the story of a handful of people who learn how to see that world and who are This is the story of a handful of people who learn how to see that world and who are drawn up into its unfolding catastrophe. But yeah, that's this book, and it's supposed to be ode to nature and trees, I believe. So yeah, there is plenty of reviews here. But yeah, released in 2018. Is printed on 100% recycled paper. By using recycled paper in place of paper made with 100% virgin fiber, the paperback first printed has saved 637 trees, 614,962 gallons of water, 206,700 pounds of greenhouse gas emissions, 62,925 pounds of solid waste. Totals quantified using the eco calculator at rolandinc.com. That's pretty cool. And yeah, I'm really excited about this book. I checked the map and my town will probably be okay. That's good. That's good. I'm glad. My town will be okay as well. Wait, I can check actually. Where I live right now. Where I live right now will be fine. Just the place I love the most around here will be completely underwater. Oh well. Fair enough. It's an island, so Sucks. Ooh, wait. One of the most famous islands where I was in April. How will that look like? Oh, the edges will go a little bit. The edges will be underwater. Most of the island will be fine though, so that's good. But yeah, so this is our next read. It is a big one. It is like 500 pages, and the font is also really tiny. So gotta read this one, like give time to this one, definitely. Um, I don't know when the live show will be. I would imagine it'll be sometimes in the beginning of January, as we usually have. So to give us full 2 months. And yes, if you're interested to pick books for next year, head to the Discord. I don't know if the link is in this video. Is it? Did I put the link to the... If it's not, I will add the link. Wait. Yes, the Discord server is in the description down below. So if you're interested in picking a book, join the Discord. There is going to be... you'll be able to pick books for which we'll be voting. So that's what I'm going to work on the upcoming weeks. So I'm going to ask you... I already asked here on YouTube, but I know there are now more people interested and is more interactive on Discord. So I'm going to ask again there if people have suggestions. If you have suggestions, drop it there, and then people will vote for what they want to read next year for the book club. But yeah, I think that's all. I don't know what star rating I'll give to this book. It's not gonna be high. It's probably gonna be like 2 stars, I think. 3 stars seems too good. Like I was too annoyed to read this. Even with giving it the grace that yes, it's not what I expected, and that is influencing my opinion, but overall I didn't like the book. So I think this will be like a 2 star. So I really hope we will end the year with a bang, because we had some great books this year, we had some not great books this year. So I hope we'll end with a great one. So yeah, is there anything else we want to talk about or discuss, or you want to ask? Let me know. But yeah, I think that's all that I have for now. I had some comment here. Yeah, never mind. Download it. What did you download? Ah, the book. This one? Good, good. Maybe I'll co-pilot for fun. Yeah, I will also co-pilot, but not now. Not now. Or should we co-pilot now together? Do we want to do that? Maybe we can wrap it up, because it's been a long one, and I think people are now very much interested in the website instead. So yes, the book. Okay, nice. I hope you'll enjoy it. I hope you like it. I hope I'll like it. I have high hopes for it. um, so yeah, I think we can wrap it up. If we have any other things to talk about, we can talk about it in the channel on Discord, because there is a channel dedicated to this book. I'm going to now create also a channel for this book, so when you start it, so we can talk about it. And yeah, oh look, it's blurb by Barbara Kingsolver. Kingsolver. Monumental, a gigantic fable of genuine truths. Okay. I love the cover, because look, there are the horses. There are people on horses, so how huge are these trees? I don't know. I love it. But yeah, time to wrap it up. Thank you very much for joining the chat. It was a bit more trashy. It wasn't trashy, but we were very salty. I hope it didn't come across too mean, even though that's just what it turned out to be. And yeah, we're just discussing our opinions. So thank you very much for joining. It's always fun to discuss with you, and I will definitely see you in the Discord channel, hopefully, and planning next year's books. So thank you for hanging out. Thank you, Natalie, for listening to us. Thank you for letting me discuss my salt. I'm glad at least Alex liked it, though. Yes, exactly. At least one person liked it. But yeah, I mean, did we get something out of it? I think so. Not to read anything from Elizabeth Cripps. That's what we got from it. Anyway, it was a fun discussion. Um, we didn't learn much. I think it's also because we read all the other books before earlier this year, so we already learned a lot of things from those. But yeah, all in all, I think it was still a fun book club experience. I haven't written in a book in a while, so that was fun. Yes, it is fun. It is fun to do. Anyway, thank you guys very much for hanging out with me. Have a great rest of the evening or rest of the day. And I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye.